Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen have gone wheel to wheel with each other in every race so far this season, and each time it's got a bit forceful but never unfair. There are only 8 points between them at the top of the championship standings, and that Hamilton advantage has been earned the hard way, with the two drivers trading blows across the start of the year. They're loving it, we're loving it, and it's all remained surprisingly good-natured so far. So there are two big questions. Can this intensity go the distance? And if it does, will somebody cross a line and turn this epic rivalry ugly? We want to read your answers to those questions in the comments, and in return, maybe you can hit the thumbs up button if you like the video. And if you enjoy what we're doing and want to show some love, then make sure you're subscribed as well. The Red Bull and Mercedes stars are revelling in this fight, with Verstappen saying how enjoyable it is to trust a driver that you can go to the absolute limit with, and Hamilton adding that they are able to keep it on the edge. It's currently advantage Hamilton with 2 wins to Verstappen's 1, and that 8-point lead in the championship. Crucially, each driver has won after defeating the other in wheel-to-wheel combat. We're being spoiled at the moment because in the context of recent seasons of Mercedes domination, it's so rare for these duels to actually matter. Another way to look at it is that over the first 3 races, every fight between these two drivers has decided the race winner. Verstappen attacked Hamilton late on in Bahrain but couldn't keep it on the track and had to give the place back again, then couldn't launch another overtake before the finish. At Imola, Hamilton tried an around the outside pass at the start and was crowded onto the curbs at the first corner by Verstappen in the wet conditions. And in Portugal, Verstappen mugged Hamilton at the restart, but a small error helped let Hamilton get back ahead, and then Hamilton made sure Verstappen ran out of road in his efforts to take the place back. In all 3 races, other factors have come into play. In Bahrain it was strategy, at Imola Hamilton made a big mistake later in the race, and in Portugal Hamilton still had to catch and pass teammate Valtteri Bottas in order to win. But we've probably had more legitimate fights between title protagonists in 3 races in 2021 than we've had in total since the last acrimonious Hamilton-Nico Rosberg season in 2016. And with 20 more Grand Prix still to go, there's every chance we're going to have more between now and the end of the season. Hamilton even joked that Mercedes and Red Bull are going to be sick of the sight of one another at the end of the year. This has the potential to be a classic title battle, but will it be one that avoids a major flashpoint? So far, Hamilton and Verstappen have produced case studies in hard but fair defensive driving. There was a tiny amount of contact at Imola, but that was almost avoidable given the conditions, and it was a testament to their skill levels that they were able to charge so aggressively into the first chicane without any major consequences. Hamilton did feel crowded out in that incident, but Verstappen could have felt the same in Portugal, where he ended up on the outside of turn 3 as Hamilton defended the place he'd just retaken. When we asked the two drivers for their views on these fights and how sustainable the battle is, their answers were compelling. Verstappen said, "It's been really cool, especially when you race a driver and you know that you can go to the absolute limit. You can trust each other to just race super hard. That's always really nice because you can see in the 3 races we've had, it's been really close to each other but predictable. Lewis has never had something like, oh, we're going to crash. I always have full trust in Lewis that we will give each other enough space." Hamilton said he seconded Verstappen's comments, adding, "It's naturally down to respect, and I think we're both very, very hard but fair. That's what makes great racing and great racing drivers, and I think we will continue to keep it clean and keep it on the edge. I don't think either of us has a plan to get any closer than we have been." These battles require a fine judgment of risk and reward. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff reckons they're not crossing the line because the risk of losing points at this stage is too big. But as the season goes on and the opportunities to beat one another reduce, the rewards may start to outweigh the risk. An extreme manifestation of this is the Ayrton Senna-Alain Prost rivalry when they had 2 championship-deciding collisions in 1989 and 1990. Now, Hamilton and Verstappen aren't necessarily going to deliberately crash if they have a points advantage and it wins them the title if both cars retire. But if their fight remains this close for the rest of the year and the championship situation is finally poised, then it's almost inevitable that factoring in the consequences of different results will influence their decision making. And in that moment is where this good-natured but intense rivalry has the biggest risk of creating a major flashpoint. There's another factor that's influencing the title battle at the moment, and it's an unpopular one. A pair of costly Verstappen penalties for track limits offences in Portugal prompted Red Bull team principal Christian Horner and senior motorsport advisor Helmut Marko to complain about the rules and the punishments. But while F1's policing of track limits continues to be problematic, Red Bull's grievances aren't well founded. Verstappen lost the fastest lap point that he appeared to have claimed at the very end of the Portugal race because he exceeded track limits at turn 14. When told after the race that he had lost the fastest lap, Verstappen's initial response was that's a bit odd because they weren't checking track limits at 14. But Verstappen was wrong. This was apparently stated explicitly in the driver's briefing, but it was unquestionably clear in the race director's event notes, which were revised through the weekend. Given that Verstappen's fastest lap advantage over Bottas was just 0.016 seconds, and he clearly did go beyond the curb at turn 14, it was correct that the lap time was taken away. By doing so, it gave back any advantage gained. Verstappen was faster in the mini sector where he exceeded track limits, and that's how the stewards have to judge it. That incident in the race followed Verstappen losing a time good enough for pole position on his first run in Q3 for going beyond the curb on the exit of turn 4. Those rules were also applied with a hard line, offering no room for interpretation, so it was right that Verstappen's pole time was deleted. And as we've already discussed, Verstappen had to give the lead back to Hamilton in the season opener in Bahrain after overtaking him off the track. That needs little justification here because we've already done a video that dived into that incident. Horner said that the track limits debate is frustrating, but the specific Verstappen offences have led to slam dunk penalties. And in addition to cutting out those clear rule breaches, Red Bull needs to be sharper with what it can get away with. In Bahrain and Portugal, the teams only realised mid-race that Mercedes has taken greater liberties using the runoff at certain parts of the track that aren't subject to the same strict zero-tolerance rules. That, combined with Verstappen not thinking turn 14 was being monitored in Portugal, suggests Red Bull needs to read or interpret the rules a little better. So instead of invoking complaints about track limits, Red Bull and Verstappen should recognise the weakness lies with them, rather than the actions of race control and the stewards. The bottom line is that the 3 times Verstappen's lost out, he's lost out of something of significant value, but he's not lost it because of an unfair decision. Hopefully, this is just an unusual cluster of offences and it doesn't influence anything longer term. We want the Hamilton-Verstappen fight to be so intense that it is decided by tiny margins, so long as those tiny margins are the exciting wheel-to-wheel stuff we're all enjoying the most. But what do you think of this contest, and is it a matter of when rather than if the Hamilton and Verstappen rivalry turns sour? Let us know in the comments, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and if you're new to our channel, how about hitting subscribe and turning on notifications so we can see you again next time.